Alright, so the audio on this is garbage because I realized 30 minutes in that I didn't have anything hooked up to what I needed it to be hooked up to. So, yeah. Sorry about that. It is what it is. I don't have the energy to record or reset. I don't even know what I said. So, yeah. Enjoy. Good morning. Good morning. I almost did this podcast from my bed this morning. Whew, wow. I have not really felt in my body this week. I think a lot of other people can say the same. It's been a very, very foggy week. I'm still showing up, even though I really, really, really fucking don't want to. And not because I'm not happy to be doing this and happy to be working on my projects and everything. I just, everything feels very foggy going on in the future. I may just like take a week during eclipse week to plan out a break in the podcast because wow, but also I'm still learning how to show up to things, not fully 100%, and I think that is really the important part here, because I think that with social media, with podcasts, with jobs, with life, it's really hard to show up, at least for me, unless I am feeling my best. And when I'm not feeling my best and I don't feel like I can fully put my best foot forward, I don't like to do it, and sometimes I just simply won't show up. Which I'm learning, the balance of. There is a certain time when it's important to, take a step back and allow yourself the rest and space that you need. And there are times when I simply am like, I cannot go and be around other people, just for like my energy's sake and my well-being. However, there are times when I'm being called to show up, not perfect, but also like not just not perfect, but like shitty. Just like not well. And I think that communicating how you feel and where you're standing is so important in life, with friendships and jobs, just communication of your emotions in general. Because I like for people to know where my baseline is at, so that they don't take anything personally. Maybe there's a little bit of an ego side that like doesn't want them to think that I'm a shitty person or that I'm always this way. But I do like to communicate where I'm at, because I think that really just helps your communication and interactions with people around you. I'm not afraid to go into work and say, hey, I feel like shit. And I used to kind of like refrain from that, because I was like, I don't want to project negativity and I don't want to, cast a certain energy on the environment that I'm in. But there also is an importance of honesty and explaining where you're at, and it doesn't have to be negative. I think it's okay to say, I don't feel like a real person today. I feel like I'm floating on a cloud and I don't feel anchored, and I don't feel like I'm probably going to be able to fully be here and be clear and coherent with the people that I'm working with. I think that's actually way more important than just going in and trying to pretend. I really haven't been that person most of my life. I feel like I wear my emotions very heavily. And am learning that balance of emotional regulation and also being upfront and honest with where you're at with your energy. Because I do think that, especially this past week, 2 weeks, where my energy has been whack, everyone around me has also been experiencing the same, and communicating that and being able to be there for each other, and also know like it's not personal, it's not negative, it's not anything other than people are going through it. And I think it's so important to know where other people's energy and emotions lie in the day-to-day. I think checking in with people that you see, that you work with, your friends, I think it's so incredibly important. Not to fix anything and not to like be a crutch, but just to hold space for other people to feel like they can just be as they are and not have to fake anything. Because what is the fucking point of that? It's only ever been detrimental in my personal experience. And I think if more people just knew that they could show up as they are, there wouldn't be that negative connotation around it. It's kind of like how I talked about last week. The problem isn't the problem you think it is. The problem is the issue that you think you have with that problem. It's not that you're showing up emotionally. Again, I don't like using the word negative, but it's not that you're showing up in a negative state. It's the fact that you're showing up and you're not okay. No, I don't like the way that I'm saying this. It's not the emotions that you show up with, it's your reactions to that. So if I go into work feeling extremely burnt out, exhausted, not able to fully, be myself and be maybe in the energy that I want to be, and if I am beating myself up for feeling in that state, that is what spirals me. That is what brings that negative connotation and energy to it, versus if I just show up and I'm like, hey, I don't feel real, I don't feel like a person, patience would be lovely. But also like just showing up as I am without beating myself up and apologizing for how I am and being upset at myself for being in that state. That is just what's important. I think that would change the trajectory of a lot of people's workspaces, day-to-day life, relationships, any of that, because I think that we're getting better as a society to kind of like appreciate the emotions and the energy and the waves that people move through. But that is like a non-negotiable for me in how I live and what career I have and how I show up, because there are just times where you aren't able to fully be yourself and you're not able to have 100% energy and show up with the enthusiasm and, to show up with the enthusiasm that you might like. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't still show up. And I think that's a lesson that it took me a moment to learn, because if I wasn't good enough, I didn't want to show up to anything, and I would just isolate myself, and then I would feel very behind in all of the things that I was working on in my life or with my connections with people. I just think it's really important to have open and honest communication with the people in your life and with yourself first and foremost. That is where it starts, is appreciating where you're at, no matter how you feel, even if it's shitty, even if everything's falling apart. Like, that is a part of life. Tower moments, death, the shitty things that happen, you can't escape it. That's a part of the life that we signed up for, and without the contrast, we wouldn't even know what good is. We can't have a life that's only filled with joy and endless happy experiences. That you can tap into that, though. What am I saying? It's like my stream of thought. I don't know if any of this is going to make sense or if I'm going to even keep it in, but you can tap into emotions are weird, because I think that emotions are all human based, and I think that you can still be in alignment while feeling shitty. And I think what a lot of people describe as joy or happiness or contentment is really actually just being aligned, which is just being in the present moment and accepting of whatever is going on. And I think that's why we can also tend to romanticize past things that maybe we shouldn't or didn't think we would, because regardless of if it was a bad situation or if you felt certain emotions, you were most likely aligned and tapped in that present moment and tapped into how you're feeling. And then that is what really leads to nostalgia and wanting that back, or thinking that you were more happy in one situation after you leave it. You probably were just in the present and feeling it and aligned, no matter what negative or positive emotion was being experienced. I sat down with no agenda. The thought of trying to like plan out my thoughts was exhausting, so I sat down and was like, I don't know what the hell is gonna come out, but I guess we're talking about emotions and showing up, which is very important, because I do have a lot to say on that, because kind of fuck God, I do have a lot to say on that, because I was picture. I don't know. I think okay. Anyways, so I do think that you can experience alignment no matter what you're feeling emotionally. I genuinely, and that has helped me really navigate my human emotions and the sadness and the pain and all of the things that I have wanted to run from, because I've associated them as negative emotions, when in reality they're just a part of life. And I feel like that might sound a little it's just life, but I really have adapted that attitude, because I used to hate that. Like, that was kind of a response to me growing up. If I had intense emotions or if I had anything, it's like, well, that's life. Well, that's life. That's being a human. That's being a human. And I hated it because it felt dismissive of the big feelings that I felt, because I felt so intensely growing up, still do. But really, when I was growing up, just my emotions felt so overwhelming. They felt like I had zero control over them, and I felt like they were me. I felt like they just, were intertwined with my being, and I couldn't really escape it or separate myself from my emotions for a really long time. So I only identified myself as somebody who felt a lot. And whatever I was feeling, I identified with. So if I felt anxious all the time, that was just, I was anxious. That was what I viewed myself as. And so growing up, that felt really dismissive. But then, you grow up and you go through therapy and things, and you learn how to regulate your emotions, and you're like, oh fuck no, this is true. This is life, and acceptance of that is really, really, really profound and beautiful. And because I think I lived a lot of my life in a very anxious, depressed, not fantastic mindset, and my goal was always to be happy. And I think earlier psychology, like pre-COVID, a lot of that focus was, we'll get you to a happy baseline. You're not here, you need to be at least here, which is a happy baseline. Let's figure out how to get you there. And so my focus was on ridding myself of this and being happy. And if I felt negative emotions, or a negative experience happened that caused my negative emotions, then I would spiral, because I was like, I thought I was at my baseline of happy, and now I'm down here. And that's the spiral of, oh no, like, now I'm feeling things that I shouldn't, and that means that I'm falling into whatever again. That means that I shouldn't, and that just spirals and spirals and spirals until I'm back in a baseline crummy state. And yeah, so that felt, anyways, it is just life. And I think that the explanation of that is so important, because a part of the reason why that felt really dismissive to me growing up was because I needed explanation, which is also part of like why I'm here and why I do what I do and why I love talking and connecting and everything. I needed explanation, because just saying that's life was not enough for my brain, because I was born with like way too many questions, way too much awareness, and not enough language to explain that. And so just saying that's life was the most frustrating shit in the entire world, because like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And of course, when I'm younger, I can't understand the things that only come with age and time and living life to be able to understand. But God, yeah, it was so frustrating. And that's why I think I love to explain concepts like that, because that's what I need in order to live my life. And really, especially when it comes to my emotions, I need to understand where they're coming from, what they are, and what they mean, and the bigger concept of things, so that I can know how to properly navigate them. And it helps knowing, hey, this is a part of the human life that you signed up for. The ups and downs, the highs and lows, the pain, the grieving, the loss, the ecstasy, all of it is literally why you came here, and is why you're a human. And if you didn't want that shit, you wouldn't be here. And so, and also, you can't experience any type of emotion without the full spectrum of emotions. And understanding that too was very, very important, because, you know, you just want to feel this baseline joy or happiness or whatever, but you don't understand the complexities of being a human and feeling, and that you can't feel one without the other, and that just because you feel pain and loss and grieving and all of these things that come with living an active life does not mean that you are doing anything wrong. And understanding too that that comes with living an active life. I think I hid from the world for a really long time because I didn't want to get hurt. When you show up in life, you're showing up to get hurt. It's like opening your heart and being open to a new relationship, to showing up to life, showing up to yourself and to your career and your dreams and the things that you want, means that you're going to get hurt. Like, point blank, period. It doesn't matter if you're the most successful person in the entire world. It will come with the contrast, because that's life. And I think I avoided life for a really long time because I was afraid of experiencing emotions. And so sometimes it's easier to just turn that shit off. And, you know, antidepressants helped for a while because they turned that off. And I won't get like super crazy. I don't have anything against antidepressants. I think that there's absolutely a time and space for them. I have an issue with the way that they are marketed, with the way that the pharmaceutical industry and the just medical industry in general carelessly throws them around. My issues don't lie in the actual medicine themselves. I think that I've been on them. I think that they do serve a purpose. But once I got on them, I did have that moment of realization, because I was on them like my teenage years, and then I got off of them, and then I got back on them at a certain part of my life. And after experiencing the time off of them, returning back, I felt numb. And I was like, oh, this is what that does. And I see the point in it. It helps you kind of like pause and allows your nervous system to like get a baseline again. But like I used to, when I first got on them, I saw them as this long-term solution. I saw them as, okay, perfect, this will bring me to baseline and I'll be good forever. And that's also part of why I fucking have issues with it, because that's not explained to you or understood by the people who give them to you. But anyways, it gives you the space and time to kind of like reset. And I found that it numbed everything in my body. So I couldn't feel the highs, I couldn't feel the lows. But then as I got older and have been through therapy and things, and I got back on it, I really, really saw the way that it just removes all emotion from your spectrum. All spectrum of emotions, words. I saw how it, Jesus Christ. I saw how it removes the spectrum of emotions, and it just gives you this flat baseline, which again serves its purpose. But in that awakening, I really had an appreciation for being a human and feeling deeply, even though that means feeling good emotions and feeling bad emotions, or however, whatever term, for lack of a better term, you know. but feeling all of them and how important that is. And it's something I'm really clinging on to right now because, just because I go to therapy and really take care of myself and am in such a wonderful spot mentally does not erase the things that come with being human. It doesn't erase bad days. It doesn't erase heartache. It doesn't erase experiences that I may not love, and having grace with that and not labeling myself as somebody who has done something wrong is very, very, very important. Because I think it's really easy to go back to that, especially in the face of like a deep emotional experience that really is like out of your control. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. I am feeling a lot of things and also very, very foggy, and I think in times past I have just shut down and not wanted to partake in life and not wanted to show up and do the things that I normally do when I'm feeling so discombobulated. But this eclipse season has been really beautiful in the ways that I've been able to connect with other people and what they're going through, because I see it unfolding in everyone around me, and I'm able to find community within the waves of emotions and the things that I'm feeling and experiencing. And that just is a reminder that it's a human collective thing and not just something's wrong with you. And that is another reason why I love astrology and energy and talking about what is going on, because for a long time it just felt like there's something wrong with me and I'm doing something wrong, or the baseline inside of my body's not wrong, because now I woke up and I feel really foggy and I don't feel good. And it's like, you can have bad days, for lack of a better term. You can experience emotions, and that doesn't mean that you're broken, and that doesn't mean that something's wrong with you, and obviously use discernment. There are times in our lives where we need to go to therapy, where there are really, really big overlying things that need more care and attention. But I know that there's also people who do think like me and have those spirals, and it's like, you can still feel and experience and be a human, and you don't necessarily need to think that there's something wrong. Yeah, and that's that on that. I feel very intensely about that. Yeah, I should maybe check on things because I'm a little nervous. Did I? Oh no. Oh my god. Dude. Fuck. So that part just might have to have shitty audio, because I really don't know if I feel like going through all of that again. Oh. That shit sucks, dude. That shit sucks so bad. I simply do not have it in me to re-record and try and tap back into that and say all the things that I did. Everything is just kind of like extracted at the moment, and nothing is tangible. The eclipse in Virgo is this weekend. It's on Sunday. I don't even know what day it is today. Thursday. It's on Sunday, and then there will be, of course, like an integration period after that, and after that, next week, things will really start to clear up and feel better, and just feel a little more, maybe not better, that's a stupid word to use, but things will not feel as heavy. The fog will start to lift. I think this eclipse in Virgo is really going to, in different areas of everybody's lives, really bring some clarity and organization. I don't know if any of this, I feel very defeated after that. And I'm really trying not to be. This is still only my third technically episode. So I'm still learning and I'm giving myself grace in that learning period. But fuck, that was disheartening because I feel like I kind of like got my shit together and I sat down and I was like, oh my gosh, this feels like the first episode that's gonna run smoothly. But that's okay. It's really not that big of a deal. I just love having good audio, obviously. But yeah, I want to put out something a little short just to talk on emotions and showing up and yeah, just showing up to life even when everything feels really weird and you don't feel like a person, and it doesn't have to be 100%, but just showing up is the important part and putting forth the effort. And that feels complete. So, alrighty. Next week I'm hoping will be a lot more clear. Everybody rest this weekend. This is a new moon eclipse in Virgo, and it rest. Don't make it, just rest and be and trust and really look at where in your life needs some refinement. Virgo is really calling us to deep clean areas of our lives that need to be deep cleaned. There's a call for a huge reset, and I think that there's a lot of astrologers right now that are honing in on this Virgo energy of, there are areas of our lives that are about to be completely reset and need a new routine or need attention and detail and refinement. And yes, however, it's the darkest phase. And that is not always, new moon is like everybody wants to like take off, and that's not really the action phase of it. It's still a new moon, it's still dark. It's when you start thinking and planting the seeds. It's not really when you start taking the action. So I feel like there might be a lot right now of like, what can you work on and what can you fix and where can you be reborn and what can be completely redone? And yes, but you don't have to do all of that today. You don't have to do all of that this weekend. In fact, you shouldn't. You should rest and be and think about the areas of your life that can really use a nice refinement. But you do not have to change your life this weekend. You really shouldn't. You should just sleep and breathe and be kind to yourself and come back to yourself, and do anything that makes you feel like grounded. Do anything that feels like self-care. Don't overextend yourself, and just feel your emotions, see where they're leading you. Alrighty, this was fun. Hopefully the audio isn't too bad. I will see you all next week.